Most people spend their 50s waiting for retirement. That single decision is the most expensive mistake of their entire financial life. Not the debt they carried in their 30s. Not the poor choices they made at 40. The waiting, the quiet, comfortable belief that their 50s are a runway when in reality, they are the last gate before the flight closes. Most people think the 50s are a time to ease up, breathe out, and coast toward the finish line. They are wrong. Your 50s are not a countdown to retirement. Your 50s are the final exam, and most people arrive having spent their entire career studying the wrong subject. I call this the last decade trap. Right now, it is silently deciding whether you spend your final years with dignity or with dread. What this video is, there is a false safety illusion at work in your life right now, a force that puts people to sleep during their most critical decade. There is a lifestyle cement quietly locking your expenses in place. No matter how much you want to cut them, there is a sequence destroyer that can erase 30 years of disciplined saving in 18 months. There is an identity cliff that kills more retirements than any stock market crash ever has. And there is a 3-stage reset you can begin tonight. If you are in your 50s right now, this is not a video about retirement planning. This is a video about whether you are going to make it. Do not close it. The analogy: picture yourself on a long-haul flight. 8 hours in, 2 hours remaining, smooth skies the entire way. Then the pilot's voice comes through the speaker. The landing gear is showing a warning light. Do you lean back, order another drink, and tell yourself the flight has been fine so far? Of course not. Because in that moment, the last 2 hours just became the most important 2 hours of the entire journey. John Maynard Keynes once wrote, "In the long run, we are all dead." People laugh at that. They treat it as dark wit. It is not. It is a warning against the seductive habit of saying later. Your 50s are not the last 2 hours, but they are your final real opportunity to pull up the landing gear before the ground arrives. After 60, the mathematics change permanently. The tools available to you narrow. The margin for error disappears entirely. The mountain you could have climbed at 50 becomes unclimbable at 63. But before we talk solutions, we need to name the real enemy. A pattern across generations. I have watched this exact pattern repeat across 3 generations of investors and savers. The families who arrived at retirement with nothing were almost never the ones who made one catastrophic mistake. They were the ones who believed the wrong thing for too long. In the Great Depression, comfortable middle-class families lost everything. Not in a single crash, in a slow, imperceptible drift. They kept believing things were fine. They kept waiting for the right moment to act. The moment never came. They were waiting for a feeling instead of reading the math. The same pattern surfaced in 2008. It surfaced in every decade in between. The people who believed the right things about their 50s survived. The people who chose the comfortable belief did not. Loop 1. The false safety illusion. Safety is not a feeling. Safety is a number. And the majority of people in their 50s are confusing the two. Most people believe that arriving in their 50s with a house, a pension contribution, and some savings means they are on track. They are wrong. Being on track in your 50s does not mean you have saved enough. It means you have saved just enough to feel dangerous enough to feel safe, but not enough to actually be safe. This makes perfect psychological sense. You have worked for 30 years. You have something to show for it. Your brain reads that as progress and floods you with relief. But your brain is operating on dopamine, not math. And dopamine cannot distinguish between $50,000 in savings and $500,000. Here is what the false safety illusion is costing you right now. Research from the Employee Benefit Research Institute found that 61% of workers in their 50s have less than $100,000 in retirement savings. 61%. Here's what that number actually means. $100,000. Invested at a 7% annual return generates $7,000 a year. That is $583 a month. Not to live on, to supplement what you already have. If your monthly expenses are $3,000 and your income stops, your savings cover less than 2 months. The false safety illusion is not just costing you comfort. It is costing you the ability to survive. You feel safe because you have something. Because having something feels like having enough. Because no one told you what enough actually looks like, written in real numbers. Because the financial industry profits from your confusion, not your clarity. 2 people turned 50 this year. Same salary, $65,000. Same neighborhood. Same length of career. Robert has saved $80,000. His brain tells him he has been responsible. When his advisor suggests increasing his monthly contribution, he says he will do it next year when things settle down. Daniel has saved $90,000 and feels alarmed, not because disaster is imminent, but because he did the math last Tuesday and saw the gap with absolute clarity. He increases his contribution by $400 a month, starting immediately. After 10 years, Robert has $162,000. After 10 years, Daniel has $311,000. The difference is $149,000. The only thing separating them was which man felt safe and which man acted afraid. You might be thinking, I already know I need to save more. Everyone knows that. But knowing is not the problem. The false safety illusion is not a knowledge failure. It is the feeling of okayness that kills urgency. The feeling is the trap, not the ignorance. The math audit. Tonight, sit down and calculate, not estimate. Calculate exactly how much monthly income your current savings will generate at retirement. Use 7% annual return. Divide the total by 12. Write that number down. Then write your current monthly expenses beside it. The gap between those two numbers is the only figure you should be focused on, not the balance. The gap. Loop 2. The lifestyle cement. But seeing the gap is only half the problem. The other half is that most people in their 50s cannot close the gap even when they genuinely want to. Something is holding their spending in place, like wet concrete that has already set. Your expenses are not habits. Your expenses are an identity, and identities do not respond to budgets. Most people believe that if they truly needed to cut spending, they could. They are wrong. By your 50s, your lifestyle is not a collection of monthly choices. It is a structure that your entire social and psychological life is built upon. The private school fees, the neighborhood, the car that signals where you have arrived, the holidays that tell your family you are doing well. These are no longer luxuries. They are load-bearing walls. Remove one and the entire structure shakes. This is not a character flaw. Your brain has spent 30 years building this structure. Every dollar you spend in your 50 seconds carries an invisible social contract attached to it. When you consider canceling the gym membership, your brain does not calculate $1,200 a year saved. It calculates what your friends will think when you stop showing up. Researchers at Harvard studying financial behavior found that people over 50 are 3 times more likely to maintain spending that causes financial stress than to reduce it. When that spending is tied to social identity, 3 times, your brain will choose financial damage over social discomfort every single time, unless you consciously interrupt the circuit. Here is the concrete cost. If your monthly expenses are $4,000 and you could realistically reduce them to $3,200 by cutting spending that no longer genuinely serves your life, that $800 monthly difference, invested at 7% over 10 years, becomes $138,000. Gone. Not spent on something meaningful. Surrender to your brain's need to feel comfortable. You keep spending at this level because the spending is tied to who you are. Because who you are is tied to what others see. Because what others see is what makes you feel secure. Because feeling secure is what your brain has been chasing since you were 25. Because no one told you that feeling safe and being safe are two entirely different destinations. Robert has that $80,000 in savings and a $650 monthly car payment on a vehicle he bought to celebrate a promotion 3 years ago. His brain says the car is earned. He worked for it. Cutting it would feel like going backward. His internal voice says, I have come this far. I am not going back to driving a 12-year-old car at 52. That thought cost him exactly $112,000 over the next 10 years. Not because the car is so expensive, because that $650 a month could have been soldiers working for him around the clock while he slept. Daniel drives a 7-year-old car. His colleagues have commented on it. He does not care. His internal scorecard does not run on what people see in the parking lot. It runs on the number in his savings account that climbs every single month. I'm not saying all of your expenses are vanity. I'm saying most people in their 50s genuinely cannot tell the difference between an expense that is necessary and an expense that has become necessary because they allowed it to. There is a real difference between those two things. Finding that difference is worth more than any investment tip I could offer. The load-bearing wall test. For every major monthly expense above $100, ask one question. If I lost my job tomorrow and needed to cut this immediately, could I? If the answer is no, it is a load-bearing wall. Know it. If the answer is yes, but you have not cut it, that is the lifestyle cement talking, not logic. Loop 3. The sequence destroyer. Even if you see the gap and break through the cement, there is one more enemy waiting. This one does not care about your savings rate. It does not care about your discipline. It plays with timing, and timing in your 50s is a weapon that cuts in both directions. The stock market does not care when you retire, but your retirement depends entirely on when the market decides to crash. Most people believe that average returns over time protect their retirement savings. They are wrong. Average returns are completely irrelevant if the crash arrives at the wrong moment. This is not theory. This is mathematics. And it has ended more comfortable retirements than any other single factor. Here is what it actually means in numbers. You retire with $500,000. In your first 2 years, the market drops 30%. You now have $350,000. You are withdrawing $30,000 a year to cover living expenses. So you have already pulled $60,000 out during the crash. Your base is now $290,000. When the market recovers, you recover on $290,000, not $500,000. The person who retired just 2 years later with the same $500,000 and the same $30,000 withdrawal recovers on the full amount. Same starting number, same withdrawal rate. Completely different outcome. The only variable is timing. Researchers at Boston College, studying retirement outcomes, found that a market drop of 25 in the first 3 years of retirement permanently reduces lifetime income by an average of 37%, compared to the same drop occurring 10 years into retirement. Permanently, not temporarily. A $500,000 portfolio designed to fund 30 years of retirement now funds 19. You run out of money 11 years early, not because you spent too much, because the crash landed in the wrong year. Both retire at 62 with exactly $500,000. Both withdraw $30,000 a year. Sarah retires in a bull market. Her first 3 years, 12%, 9%, 14% growth. By year 5, she has more than she started with despite the withdrawals. Patricia retires near the dot-com collapse. Her first 2 years, down 18%, then down 22%. She is still withdrawing $30,000 because the bills do not pause for market cycles. By year 3, her portfolio has fallen to $290,000. When the market eventually recovers, Patricia recovers on less than 60% of what Sarah started with. After 15 years, Sarah has $700,000. Patricia runs out of money at year 16. Same starting amount, same withdrawal rate, same average market return across the entire period. Different sequence, different life. You cannot control when the market crashes. That is exactly the point. Since you cannot control the sequence, you must protect yourself from it. This is not optional. Sarah did not get lucky. Patricia did not get unlucky. One built a buffer, one did not. The 2-year cash moat. Before you retire, or right now, if you are in your 50s, you need 2 full years of living expenses, sitting in cash or short-term bonds, completely separate from your investment portfolio, not invested, not optimized, sitting there doing one job, making sure you never have to sell investments when the market is down. When the crash comes, and it will come, you live on the cash moat. You do not touch the investments. You let them recover. The cash moat does not earn much. That is not its job. Its job is to make sure you are still in the game when the recovery comes. Loop 4. The identity cliff. Fixing the sequence destroyer still leaves the hardest enemy untouched. The one no financial plan addresses. The one that ends retirements before they truly begin, not because of money, but because of meaning. Retirement is not a financial event. For most people, it is a psychological collapse waiting to happen, and your 50s are where it either gets prevented or guaranteed. Most people believe retirement will feel like freedom. They are wrong. For most people, retirement feels like erasure. Not immediately. The first 6 months feel like a holiday. Then the sugar crash arrives. And for many people, it arrives with a force that no spreadsheet ever prepared them for. Research from the Institute of Economic Affairs in London found that retirement increases the probability of clinical depression by 40%, and the probability of a diagnosed physical illness by 60%. 60% more likely to get sick. Here is why that matters beyond quality of life. The identity cliff does not just hurt your happiness, it accelerates your medical costs at the precise moment your income has stopped. The financial plan that assumed reasonable healthcare expenses gets dismantled by the identity cliff within 3 years of retirement for a significant portion of people. You drift toward this cliff because your identity is built on your job title, because your job title gives you structure, because structure gives you purpose, because purpose is what your brain uses to stay alive. Because no one told you that a financial plan without a purpose plan is only half a plan. Jack retires at 63 with $420,000, enough to be genuinely comfortable. He planned the finances with care. He planned nothing else. 6 months in, he plays golf 3 times a week, then twice, then once. By month 8, he is watching television for 6 hours a day. His wife notices the irritability. He is not struggling because his finances are failing. He is struggling because his brain has nothing to solve, nothing to construct, nothing to contribute toward. By year 2, Jack has seen a cardiologist twice, a therapist once, and spent $17,000 on medical costs he never projected. His savings are being consumed faster than any model predicted, not because of the market, because he forgot to plan for the part that comes after the money. Patricia planned differently. 14 months before retirement, She identified 3 things she wanted to build. Things that had nothing to do with her job title, not hobbies. Things she was actively constructing. A mentorship program for young women in her industry. A small consultancy she could run 2 days a week. A fitness goal specific enough to require a coach and a real timeline. When she retired, she did not lose her identity. She transferred it. Her brain had new problems to solve, new structures to operate within, new reasons to get up at a specific hour. Her medical costs in the first 3 years of retirement were lower than in her final 3 years of employment. Her life got healthier when she retired. That did not happen by accident. It happened because she planned for what comes after the money. You might be thinking you have hobbies and interests, and you will be fine. I want to be direct with you. Hobbies are not purpose. A hobby is something you do when you have free time. Purpose is something you build even when you are tired. Your brain in retirement does not need entertainment. It needs construction. It needs to be building something. If it is not building something, it will begin dismantling you instead. The purpose blueprint. Before you retire, identify 2 things you are actively building. Things that have nothing to do with your job and nothing to do with leisure. They can be modest. They must be real. They must involve other people and have a timeline. Write them down. They are as important as your savings rate. Possibly more. When we evaluated companies over the decades, we always looked past the balance sheet to ask one question. What is this organization built around when you remove the founder? The companies that failed after we passed on them almost always failed the same way. Built entirely around one person's identity. When that person left, the whole structure collapsed. The same physics govern a life. If your retirement is built around the removal of your professional identity, with no new structure to replace it, everything that made it run has left the building. You must build the structure before you need it. The 3-stage reset. Stage 1. See the real number. This stage takes one evening. Your only task is to calculate, not estimate, what your current savings will actually generate as monthly income. Use 7% annual return. Write the number down. Write your current monthly expenses beside it. Look at the gap. Do not look away from the gap. The gap is the most honest financial conversation you will have this year. When you complete stage 1, you have replaced the false safety illusion with actual mathematics. That math is uncomfortable. Good. Discomfort is the only force that generates the urgency required for stage 2. Stage 2. Close the gap aggressively. This stage runs from tonight until you retire. Every expense above $100 a month gets the load-bearing wall test. Every expense that fails and is not truly structural gets redirected into savings. Every raise, every bonus, every windfall goes entirely into savings before it touches your lifestyle. You are not cutting your life. You are redirecting money that was flowing toward comfort and pointing it toward freedom. Build the 2-year cash mode first. Everything above that goes into a low-cost index fund. You do not watch it daily. You do not trade it. You add to it every month and leave it alone. When you complete stage 2, you can retire without depending on the market to be kind in your first year. Stage 3. Build the structure. This runs alongside stage 2. Starting tonight, identify 2 things you are actively building that will survive your retirement, not hobby structures. They involve other people. They have timelines. They give your brain construction work to do after the paycheck stops. Write the purpose blueprint before you need it. The same way you build the cash moat before you need it. Structures built under pressure collapse. Structures built in advance hold. Speaking directly to you, if you are in your 50s and you felt something shift while watching this, understand one thing clearly. You are not behind. You are awake. There is a massive difference between those 2 things. The false safety illusion operates by keeping you in a state of comfortable numbness. The fact that you are still here means the numbness cracked. That is the hardest part, not the math, not the savings rate. The moment you decide to stop waiting for a feeling and start working from a number, your situation is not hopeless. Your situation has been unexamined, and the examination is available to you tonight, not next month, not when things settle down. Tonight, the gap between your current path and a retirement lived with dignity is almost certainly closable from exactly where you stand. But only if you start now, not when it feels right. It will never feel right. That is precisely what the lifestyle cement does. It makes the right moment feel permanently 1 year away. You have more leverage right now than you will have at 62. Use it. Your assignment. Open a blank document or take a piece of paper right now, not tomorrow. Write your current total savings as a single number. Multiply that number by 0.07. That is your annual income from savings at 7%. Divide by 12. That is your monthly income from current savings. Write it down. Write your current monthly expenses beside it. Write the gap. That gap is the number you are actually managing, not the balance. Now write one monthly expense above $100 that fails the load-bearing wall test. Set a reminder for tomorrow morning to cancel or reduce it. One expense tonight. Here's what delay actually costs. If you free up $400 a month starting tonight versus starting 1 year from now, the difference at 7% over 10 years is $69,000. You are not delaying by a week. You are handing $69,000 to the lifestyle cement instead of keeping it. Closing. Write one word in the comments right now. The one word that honestly describes where your 50s currently stand. Asleep, awake, worried, moving. Just one word. I read every single one. And your word tonight might be exactly what someone else sitting in the same silence needs to read. We have covered the false safety illusion, the lifestyle cement, the sequence destroyer, the identity cliff. These are the 4 chains of the last decade trap. Most people will watch this and feel urgent for 48 hours. Then the lifestyle cement will harden again. The false safety illusion will return, and they will tell themselves they will start properly when things settle down. The pattern repeats across every generation. The people who retire with dignity are not the ones who had the most money. At 50, they are the ones who refused to wait for a feeling and started working from a number. Drop that one word in the comments below. Your 50s are not a countdown to retirement. They are the last real chance to decide what retirement actually looks like. Use them like it.